not just individual. Of course, I interrupted you, but it's it's not my life story. I'm involved in it, but it's a historical time of our nation, and the political and all that, and the military and all that. You're never going to get it right in a book. The guys that write the books, unless they're SOG books, or whatever, like Plaster, they weren't there, and I've had over time. I'm a retired contractor now, but I worked in so many homes and apartments and stuff, and I run into people that are Vietnam vets and they're hollow-eyed or sheltered, and I said, the only guys that talk about it are the guys with the vets. They don't want to talk to civilians about it, and
that's been one of the toughest things starting out. I actually got started out in the SOG realm. Before we get to your story, real quick, I happened to get in touch with a Covey pilot and a Pink Panther 361st. Of course, you know them greatly. We'll get to that at some point. But they spoke to me, and I made a little Facebook post on social media because I was beginning to get more and more SOG vets checking me out and asking around. And once they saw I spoke to those two gentlemen that the guys know pretty well, I was speaking to Ed Walkoff, Toby Todd, John Good, gosh, I've got well over 100, but Mike Shepard, the list goes on literally. But it just took a little bit, I guess, for guys to know I was not a shyster or some Johnny come lately, and it's been quite well. And I actually have been invited to SOAR ever since 2022 when I first went, and I'm hoping to actually get out there this year to see some of the guys.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and it's part of it is the era of it. Like I said, the state of the nation at the time, and I and if you've talked this.
We're pretty level-headed. So.
Scared.
It's been one of the more interesting things is getting to hear what it's like for you guys getting freshly in country and everything. But when you went through training group and everything and passed and got your beret and all of that, what group were you assigned to? Did you go through first to get to Okie, or were you 5th group, or?
Just on a personal, I guess, the personal level, my one weakness in life is swimming. And I even after I got out of the service, I went to diving school, and as long as I can breathe underwater, I'm fine. But always as a kid and everything, that was the one thing I knew. If I was going to get terminated, it wasn't the fear.
Climbing walls and nothing. It was swimming. So I tried. Is it my phone or was I hearing myself?
I had one of my speaker phones messing up. I apologize about that. That was weird.
Anyway, so that was the one concern I had after coming out of Benning was when we get to phase 1, and I got to Camp McCall. Well, I didn't get to Camp McCall first. Anyway, you get to for Benning, you get to brag, and then they're saying, hey, before you guys jump into Camp McCall, you got to go to the swimming test. And I practiced and practiced and practiced, and I passed. And but there were some guys, because you had to have full fatigues on and jump boots and go down and back 2 lengths of an Olympic-sized pool. You cannot touch the bottom. There's a special forces diving guy with a mask on, making sure you don't cheat. Some guys just fell like a rock and stand underwater and look around, and they pull them out and say, you're terminated, and send them to 82nd Airborne. And so that to me was my apprehension. Well, then I get to Camp McCall, and they had the map course and all that. And they called me and 3 other guys out after the first week of phase 1 and said, you guys are either getting recycled or you terminated. And I thought, why? And I missed one question on the map test. It was below the had to decide, do I want to terminate and call this quits, or do I have to wait for the next team, the next group of people to come out? And I stayed with it. So I did really good on the next time around. That day, and they're marching back to the barracks, singing the Ballad of the Green Beret. And I'm laying there in a bunk, and I've only got 2 weeks in. And again, I just had that fortitude or whatever and say, I'll go back and I'm going to finish. And it worked out good because I'm 05B was my MOS, and they had to wait to get enough people to start a class. So as soon as I got out of Camp McCall Phase 1, I went right in, after that weekend, right into my 05B training. And the other guys had to wait around and do details like guard duty and KP, which they don't do anymore. So anyway, so it didn't just fly right through Phase 1. And it was really hard physically, but I somehow, like I said, I just found an inner strength and just stayed with it. And it wasn't the hat, it wasn't the beret, it was, well, people do it, and you make a way or find a way. So when I did get out of my MOS and they were getting Phase 2, when they put you on a team, they had somewhere along there, which group would you like to be in? You know, once you're done with your MOS in Phase 2, which group would you like to be assigned? And they had 1st and 5th and 10th, which I hate the snow, the 8th in Panama, I don't like, you know, and I put down the 5th because they had said, what we need in Vietnam are 05Bs and medics. And I thought, well, they need my MOS, and so that's how I got assigned to the 5th. I put it down, and irregardless of my brother being killed, that doesn't apply to Special Forces, right? So anyway, long answer, short question, but that's how I got into the 5th, right out of Phase 2.
Holy cow, that's and that's another part of interesting, how guys end up in groups and particular groups or battalions and groups, and where they end up from there. With you, with with 5th group clearly are already being cemented, is having Vietnam is their AO and everybody coming in there, so to speak, through 5th group. Did you immediately get orders to Vietnam? Did you come across the world famous Miss Billy Alexander, or?
Well, as soon as I got out of Phase 2, that's when everybody on all MOSs are done with their training, and now they're ready to be assigned to a group. And like we had Phase 2 is where you bring in guys from Fort Sam Houston, the medics, you bring in guys from Bragg, you got your Commo 05Bs, your engineers, and then you put them on 12-man teams, just like they're an A team, and you send them out. What I liked about the training is they let us be men, you know, and you don't go to some sheltered little place to practice communication. They throw you out in Pisgah National Forest at the other end of North Carolina. And you have to make commo with old gear and 4-man groups. That was just the 05B part. You jump in, you run your parachute to the truck, you grab your gear, and off you go. And they give you coordinates and places to make commo, which are some impossible places. And there's all kinds of dangers. There's all kinds of, you know, raging rivers. You got to cross this log. And we would just sit there like, you know, they trust us to be men, to find a way to make commo, because you don't eat. You don't get sea rations, or you don't get your next rendezvous for your next assigned position. And so it's not just, oh, you just crank up this radio and all the signals are good. And the blind transmission broadcasts come out of Fort Bragg and the Morse code, and 3 of us are trying to decipher us with these CACs, and you're trying to get your team's message in there. And so there's all these challenges, and for us little guys in this group, like, they trust us to become men that are skilled in this area. And so anyway, once you finish that, and then now they bring these areas of expertise, medics, O&I, weapons, engineer, commo, put them out in the boonies again in North Carolina for phase 2. And give us missions, give us ambush missions and all these things. And here is the dirge of Fort Bragg, the 82nd Airborne, their adversary. And they absolutely hated the Special Forces guys because, you know, we're the privileged few, I guess, but not hate, but so every time we had a field training or anything, the 82nd Airborne is your aggressor. You hide from them or you ambush their stuff, and so it developed those skills. And so when you're done with phase 2, and now everybody's finally graduated at the full level of training, then you're assigned the group. And I went right from Fort Bragg, a couple weeks at home, and off to Vietnam.
Holy cow!
So,
Some of the guys we've actually spoke with, or I should say, I've spoke to some on my YouTube channel interviews that I do. Some of the guys have done, which is very cool. May end up speaking to you about that later on. But did you have any idea, or did you have a shall we say a choice or an idea of what you or where you wanted to go? Had you heard anything about the special projects at Bragg or up until this point?
just like not even a whisper. They did our standard, you know, for the ones that were going to Vietnam, they give you a little orientation, like show you these pretty Vietnamese girls, and then they show you with the black syphilis on them. Say,
Oh Lord.
You know, and no, there was kind of not even a whisper about it. And so I thought, because of my MOS, I'm probably going to end up sitting in some air-conditioned container, listening to Morse code all day. And so, or I thought, well, and I didn't know we'd lost that many A camps in the Tet Offensive of 1968. So I thought, well, maybe I'll go on an A team, because that's how we trained. We trained as A teams. Because they still needed them, but they were phasing them out of Vietnam because they got overrun. So I did not know what was waiting for me.
Wow, that's very heavy duty, and that, I mean, the time period coming in like that, it's very, very hectic. So do you what day do you remember, year and day do you remember landing, and did you land straight into Trang, or did you have to come through Cameron Bay, or?
We came in, I left here June 7th, June 7th, June 10th, 1970. And we flew, obviously, a hop anyway. We did have to go to Cameron Bay. And then they opened the doors, and of course, the humidity and the smell. And there's these Asians down there, you know, and these Asians down there to kind of give me the eyeball. And I wonder which one of them is friendly, you know. Because nobody's got any, you know, we have no weapons or anything. We're just got these shiny fatigues. Some guys were prior tours, so they had some of their fatigues left over. But we were the FNGs, you know, we're the new guys. Yeah, and I landed in Cameron Bay, and then they came out, and of course everybody, not just our guys, but there were Special Forces guys, but a big plane of a couple hundred maybe. And of course the African American guys liked all their chains and their, you know, their stuff, and the only headgear allowed is baseball hats or green berets. And I thought, well, that's good. I never wear no baseball hat. I threw that up in the air when I got my beret. So, and you could hear the rumble in the background of the war going on at night. Some guys, oh, Mama, I know that was. So, anyway, and then we went to the Trent in a couple of days.
Oh wow! And did you kind of want to go into the A camp role, or a Mike Force role, or did you kind of want to see if the rumblings of SOG were true?
Well, they just when we got to the train, and I can't remember everybody you know, like maybe 6 to 8 that we went to. We got them to train, and I kind of thought, well, you know, they're gonna have an A camp or a B, like I said, a B team or a hatchet force or something. I didn't know. Uh, you know, like I said, all we knew that was consistent was the A team and maybe a hatchet force. It's more like an infantry company with special forces advisors. So they said, well, you know, and they said, well, you guys, you know, can go C&C. And I don't remember if they asked us or they just told us. You don't get to say, do you have any positions available at an A camp? You know, like they said, well, what we do is we have C&C open up. They might have mentioned like a B team or something, but 8 of us, anyway, out of that larger group, were sent to Kontum. And he said, you're going to CCC Kontum.
Holy cow. Kind of.
CC, a Blackbird unmarked C-130 to Kontum, wherever that is.
Voluntold and not even a choice of where, just straight to Kontum.
No, they just, you know, they just said you're going to CCC. And I don't know what that is. And when my dad back east in the 20s, you know, the CC camps are Civilian Conservation Corps. CCC camps. Back in after the Depression or during the Depression years, you know, we had CCC program. And I thought, this isn't Civilian Conservation Corps.
That when I bring that up to people that are asking what I do these days, or when they see something on YouTube pop up, and I'm always talking about men that worked CCC missions or operations, and they're like, "Are you talking to old men that worked on the FDR and CCC projects in the old days?" I'm like, no. I'm speaking to the men that were running super secret operations in Laos and Cambodia. They're like, whoa, okay.
I'm at that age now. I'm 75, you know, and like, oh, my grandpa was in Vietnam. Like, man, that sounds old.
Yeah,
alive and well.
Yeah, I was about to say, most of you guys may have the number of being old, but I found most of y'all are still quite young at heart and still pretty rowdy. It can be, especially when y'all get together at SOAR. I've had some fun times with some of the guys getting together. When you when you did finally get on the Blackbird, and which I'm sure that was a crazy sight, seeing that completely blacked out or camouflage bird and secret and all that. What is do y'all land? I'm never quite sure how y'all get to Kontum. Is there an airport proper, or do y'all land like at the compound?
Didn't have one on the compound. I know we had the helipad, but it was really close, but it wasn't like near the town either. Because it actually, to go into town, I think you got to cross a river or something. So, because the compound was away from the town, so it's just a strip somewhere. It might have been. It wasn't Play Cruise. It wasn't that far, and it wasn't. It might have been where all the assets, you know, the gunships and slicks might have been there.
Was it? I've got a lot of photos that some vets have been giving me lately, and unfortunately, fortunately, I was given all of a Hatchet Force veteran who was on Tailwind all of his photos, and they are gathered what looks to be a small airport. There might be a village off in the background, and I'm always curious because it's got a landing strip. And I'm always curious if that was the little area, just one little small building or maybe two, and then a pretty open area.
Yeah, the only way, and I just remember, you know, they lowered the back when we did land in there, and the guys pull up in a Jeep and a deuce and a half, and they got their faded fatigue with their SOG patch on or whatever, and I'm shiny green, you know, and but I mean, you know, it's camaraderie. There's no new guys, you know, you're just here. And yeah, there was nothing there. It was kind of a short commute. That's probably it. But when people would get on stand down, the guy say, hey, man, I want to go to Thailand. And he'd have what they call a CCK flight come in. Always an unmarked C-130, and yeah, you know, we'll up you to Thailand. When I went on R&R, go to Taipei, Blackbird came in, took us to Saigon, and we landed there at the big base and got into House 10, which is for Green Berets only. And so anyway, it was close, but it was pretty regular too, because they had CCK flights and probably supply stuff coming in that could get transported to us pretty soon.
Wow, that man, that I've heard some rowdy stories of the CCK flights to Thailand, and got some actually some interesting photos from some of the recon men from their visits. You guys, I'll say that you guys knew how to have fun also.
Well, and it was, you know, and that was just another. It's just the aspect of it on because of the song stuff. Is like you go on stand down for every day you survive. And yeah, I mean, you have incentive obviously to live, but you're out there 6, 8 days, you know, whatever, monsoon season, sometimes you're stuck. And you get back, you know, and they only want to hear from you for 5 or 6 days, and you just jump a Blackbird. And they don't tell orders and all that, and you just sign out, and they say, we know you're going to come back because you're going to need the money, or you're going to go on and live it up again. You're going to have to go on another mission, you know. And I guess that was something even at Fort Bragg, like I alluded to, that there's this level of trust that they put in us as trainees or people that they're giving these jobs to. They're trusting us to do it. And then we also get a reward system for our, you know, efforts and whatever else at very high risk, obviously. And that was just a mutual thing that you just didn't see anywhere else. In at least my experience, you know, we go to these fire bases and some of these poor souls that absolutely sent over there against their will, not allowed to defend themselves, you know, and that was just on a personal thing, you know, like, yeah, we're out of here and we get our beer and steak, we get back to Kontum and take a shower, and then I'm out of here. Don't talk to me for 5 days. And it's just the reward system are part of it, because they know what you're up against.
Yeah, and, work hard, play hard.
Yeah, and that's it. And, you know, but then also, for me personally, I think it's almost to everybody that the level of training and the skill levels or things we learned or whatever your MOS is beyond your normal regular Army or military level, because it is a special force, you know, up and down the line. And so we're not perfect at everything. We're not all these super people. It's just that we're well trained in what we do. And so you should get a better reward, you know, because you've already paid the price on your end, or you do your job on your end, and they say, well, we're. But that was just something to me personally early on. Like there's this level of confidence. They can have confidence in us. We're going to take their heart and skill levels they've given us, and all of this always subject to change. And then we come back and say, you know, you've done your job, just take a break. Yeah. So that was just one of those personal things.
Wow, it's so amazing the inner workings and throughout the years. It's found, outside of reading the books and the detail they go into about it, but hearing the more in-depth stuff from you guys about y'all's rewards and vacations and all of that has been just really interesting to hear about. When you ended up finally getting to Kontum proper, shall we say, and at the compound, what I mean, what's that like when for an FNG, pardon my term, what's first on the list for a guy coming in to do?
Well, we go over to actually the command center, whatever, just a desk in there. There was like 8 or 10 of us, new guys, and they said, we have here command and control, SOG. I mean, command and control. We also have like a mic force here. My group that came in there, none of us were medics. We didn't have a medic in the group that I came in with. You know, or there's also the infirmary here or whatever. And so you can go be on the mic force, which they never dispatch because it takes way too many helicopters and assets. time to get out there, the enemy's gone. So you learn that, like that's just kind of practice, right? It does help guard the compound. And or you can go CNC. And I said, what's that? He said, recon missions over the fence. Like that would, and you look at the board, they had, I think at the time I got there, they had about 30 teams on the board, and then some were active, some were shot out, some were like Plaster's team was wiped out, you know, and so they were filling that in, and they say, okay, they said, but, and they made it clear they don't stick it to you, you know, it's like, it's all volunteer. This is volunteer to go soft. You know, I mean, you're at CNC, we'll give you a job to do, we'll find something sure you do. Well, I'm an 05B, and I'm not going down that sandbag hooch all day and listen to Morse code or radio. You know, to me, and they didn't choose us by your MOS, they just chose you as your living, breathing person. And whatever your MOS is, it is. You probably make use of it. And that's, for me personally, of the 8 or so, I was the only 05B. And so you learn, like, oh man, I got a poor soul that had that sticking radio, that trick 25 out in the jungle, you know, and all that. You ain't got enough room for your own ammo, and you're a living target because you're the radio man. That sounded good to me. Because I guess, and I learned it doesn't matter what your MOS is, that as I learned in formations in the jungle or how we did, I'm always in the middle of the formation. I'm not at the point and I'm not at the tail. I'm in the middle. And I'm also gives me actual hands-on experience, and I talk to trucks. I talk to the gunships. I give the call signs every day. I got the cats. And so it gives me something to do other than just march through the jungle. And also there's a certain responsibility to get the team out, you know, whatever. And I hang with a couple teams. The guys absolutely hated the radio. Oh, good, we got this new guy. He loves the radio. And I'm like, it's my job.
Wow.
So I wasn't trying to be anything heroic, because if you want somebody to carry the radio and understand the procedure or whatever, you know, I'll go. I'm already here. You know, what am I supposed to do here? And so, anyway, it was a surprise. We learned about what it was, you know, over the fence and all of this and that and whatever, but it was all volunteer. And we all looked at each other like, well, nobody's married men here. You know, it's advised, if you're married, don't go on this kind of stuff. You know, you might be a widow left behind. So, anyway.
Wow. What was, and we've spoken to a lot of the guys from varying years. I have spoken, and on the interviews, like Ray Harris, Dan Sturr, Glenn Sweet Jensen, you know, from '66 up to Jim Jocko, who was, you know, like in '72 as CCC was shutting down before SMAG and all of that. Was Mr. Bob Howard around as the recon commander, or either the armorer, or what have you, when you got there?
Well, and if it's the same Jocko that came over in my group, because I almost know all the names of them. And the last person I talked to, I mentioned Jocko, Bentley, Baker, Nixon, myself, Callard. And those are kind of the ones that come to mind. But Jocko was kind of this heavy.
That's him.
Heavy guy, big nose, like a typical Italian.
Big Italian boy.
Yeah, so Jocko, I forgot what team. And Bentley was kind of this bird nose, skinny guy.
Bentley was on Montana and Arizona, did a halo jump, or maybe a static. No, he did a halo with Storter and then Mr. Gosh, who were we just talking about?
Jocko?
Yes, he was RT Arizona and RT Arkansas.
Yeah, and see, and then Baker was the redheaded guy with the red mustache.
Big Red, yes, sir.
Yeah, and then Nixon, of course, is the black guy from King, New York. Cause he and I would always rub each other. We're just good friends, you know. And he'd pull out his 32 underneath his fatigue, you know, and he'd say, "Hey, see the ring," you know. And I pull out my 38, shut up. You can yell at each other, but it's like, of all of the group, Larry Nixon and I hung out, and he was on one of my teams. I don't want to embarrass him, but he had a sawed-off RPD machine gun, big badass. All, hey, Lyn, I got 200 rounds. He strapped hanging with our team. It was with the tail gunner Watt at the back, and we got hit from behind. He snuck up behind us, and he popped one round, and his RPD jammed.
Oh.
On the horn. And we're running, and then they're yelling, and we lost one of our mountain yards there, didn't get them out, and get back, and finally, you get on the slick getting out, and then the thing unloads, and he just shooting at the bushes, but he was at the back of formation and column, that we're in, and these trails are not really trails, most of them, but he tried to pass me, and I'm carrying a Prick 25, and that's kind of heavy. But I lettered in cross country in high school, and so I'm just saying that, you coon, get to the back. His eyes were white, man, he was white. And then over the years, you lose touch, and then they have these. I don't have a working computer anymore, but they had pictures, and that's how I discovered this SOG, this recording and all this stuff. Like, what? That's all declassified now. And there's a picture of Nixon with his bandana, with his RPD machine gun, and his fatigue. And then, because I got medevac, Ed Wolcott left, and Larry Nixon became the 1-0 of Team New York.
Oh yes. Spoken with Mr. Ed Walkoff a few times as well. He and Joe Walker were two interesting guys. I always love hearing about those two.
I kept hearing about Joe Walker this, Joe Walker that. Like, who's this Superman Joe Walker? He wasn't there when I got there. And then, Joe Walker's coming back. And here comes this tall, wrangly guy with black fatigue, black hat, and rimless glasses. They look like John Denver. And that's the mighty Joe Walker. I'm expecting some guy,
the professor.
Yeah, but I'd watch how he trained Team California. They were behind us in their reach. And he'd have these different things. And it's just like, no wonder California is such a good team. But in regards, on here, stay on track. Bob Howard, I didn't hear about him. And then they said, yeah, Robert Howard's coming back. The guy's got the CNH, I'm like, yeah, he got a field commission, and he's going to be Di Wee, Captain Howard, and he came back. And he was my company commander while I was there. And also, just as a sidebar, Martha Ray just happened to come when I was there.
Oh, no way.
And so there's Bob Howard, and here comes Colonel Maggie. Well, South Vietnamese and their recon teams were trying to impress her with all the captured bicycle stuff, and she just had a pile of junk. But I remember as a kid, they used to have this TV show called Hollywood Palace. It was on Saturday night, and Martha Ray, who's a comedian, and big lips,
Oh, yeah.
She was hosting the Hollywood Palace. And who does she have on? Staff Sergeant Barry Sadler, singing the Ballad of the Green Beret. I just remembered her, and then I remembered, no, that's how she's tied in with Special Forces. And so she was over there, and she brought that footage and our compound, and we're watching it, and he starts singing, and she said, get your asses up and get on your feet. But anyway, she's an honorary colonel, and she said, if you ever make it to Hollywood, you come to my house. And so I got to meet her in person. Wow, all these famous people, and all I did is raise my hand and take an oath.
I heard she was just fantastic and would drink with the boys. And actually, like you said, I know several guys from CCN and CCC that actually took her up and went and stayed with her and said she was just a fantastic woman. Just
she was. In fact, the mission that I referred to, that Larry Nixon and I, it was target number, it was M6, November 6th, and Mitchell, who was the actual 1-0, was on a R&R in Thailand when Staff Sergeant Green took it as a 1-0, and Larry Nixon and I came back, and we had the Covey Country Club, but then they had a little recon board, generic, and she was there, and Lyn St and I came in, of course, sweat and camouflage stick all over our face, and Captain Howard, here's this mighty Captain Howard. He's a big old guy, and he said, my boys did through hell today, but they made it back. She bought us around, and said, you're my sons, and like, yeah, doesn't make you want to go do all that again, but that's part of like that reward that just kind of came along with it.
God, that is too cool. And it sounds like Mr. Bob was a hell of a man that looked out and took care of y'all.
Well, he knew, because I mean all his achievements were running recon missions, and he was from Arkansas, and big guy, but he knew, he understood the threat, he understood how bad the enemy's gonna get a hold of you. So but he was a company commander of a recon company, and so anyway.
You guys always had a stout recon company commander, either Jim Stewart or Captain Howard. I know the XO for a while was Dave Carr. Solid recon company commander staff.
Yeah, and then we had old bushy brows, we called him.
Oh gosh, I just posted a photo of him, and guys were talking, just talking crazy. I couldn't. I thought y'all were just being mean, and he didn't have eyebrows like that, and he has the biggest eyebrows I've ever seen on a man.
He was some colonel. He was like the base commander, and like he's total flake. I mean, he was there, but then Colonel Scalise, the Italian guy, and I know I'm meandering all over the map, but the Italian colonel, the Blue Bird was like the base commander. And he's like, yeah, and you could tell I am a man of many words. And so I would give the brief back, got to give a brief back before you go on your mission. Tell them the low left no bomb line with the area recon, POW snatch, blah, 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 same kind of stuff. And now the only time I ever see the guy. But Colonel Scalise was a lieutenant colonel. And when I got wounded and King Hawaii got shot all up, and I'm there, he was at Dock Toe, forward launch site, when my medevac slick and all the other slicks, and he got what's left of Colorado and Hawaii there, and he came in, put his face in mine, and I'm laying on the helicopter going, I'm probably not going to go back to Kontum. I'm heading for play 2. And he was the one who was with the guys, so he was cool.
Wow, that's I'm actually.
I think his name was Harrison. I did mix up. He was a black captain. He'd been in other units. Like I say, some people will be in prior tours, maybe other units, and they go through. They don't just give them a green beret. They got to go through phase 1, phase 2, whatever. And he came over and got off with Jeep or whatever and put his bars in his pocket. Said, don't ever call me sir. I don't know anything about what you guys are doing. And he's, maybe 5-10 years older than us. He said, don't ever call me sir. I have no idea what I'm doing. So,
wow.
That kind of humility, because it is reality. Don't come over like rubbing out and start thinking you're going to hatchet force these people, and you learn the first time out, you lose half your team. And it was one of those things that, yeah, there's a certain, I don't know, with ego, but it's like anything in life. The ones, I go to YouTube and I know all this. Yeah, but how many of you built? And there were people, there was one guy there named Keever was his name.
Mr. Steve Keever?
Yeah, I think he was, I'm not sure if it was Illinois or something. But
yes, sir.
He's a nice looking guy, but he was very quiet. But he was such a strategist, They just, how he trained his team and not a bunch of flakes, but just certain people had, and I think Captain Harrison or wherever might have ended up on his team, and like this captain just humbled himself and let the young guy who's only 20 years old show him the ropes. And of course it goes both ways, and regardless of rank, you earn that person's respect, because now they're letting you lead instead of trying to take it. So.
Yeah, Mr. As a matter of fact, I interviewed Mr. Steve. He was kind enough to do a live interview on YouTube for my SOG history project that I run, and great guy. Thank God a lot of y'all broke the photo rule, and he's got a lot of great photos. And unfortunately, I've never seen a photo of you. And that really bums me out. Out of all the SOG books and photos that I've got, jump drives full, I've never seen a SOG photo of you. But
years ago, some guy, I don't know who it was, and I hope I don't lose you today. I don't know where my battery is on my cell phone, but I don't know where we are. But anyway, some years ago, some guy sent me a CD, and here's pictures of you, and his business card had like 7.62 bullets all around the perimeter, and it had a Green Beret. It might have had the CNC logo in there. It was from somebody, and it was a disc, and it had 3 pictures of me, and fatigues, and then in black and white, and then another color picture. And he said, and he might have called me ahead of time. Yeah, I got this picture of you, and you're sitting on the deck in front of your hooch in tiger fatigue. And I never had tiger fatigue. Yeah, you did. You had tiger. No, I never had tiger fatigue. No, it's you because you're left-handed and the watch is on your right hand upside down. And that's how I used to wear it. I look at my right hand to set the time. And so I got this disc, and there I am. And sure enough, I don't know, we've never had them tiger fatigue bottles. So, but that disc somehow, it might be stuck in our old computer or something. And then when Sam and Paul were out for their podcast, I do have a picture of me before I went overseas. It's a 8x10 my dad had a local studio. Said, come on down and we'll take pictures of you, like in your uniform. And then we'll stick a pack of Marlboros under your shirt sleeve and make you try to look like a tough guy. And he put it out in his window of his studio, like, do you want to be this or do you want to be this?
That's great. I'm gonna have to dig up.
And I haven't, like I said, I don't have even a working computer now, but I know sometimes I look like, man, that looks like me, but it doesn't say who it is, But I'll spot Nixon in there, and I have nothing. I did send pictures home, Polaroids or something, but after 50 years, who knows where that is? My parents are both gone, and my nephew has what's left. Oh, some stuff your Vietnam stuff. I said, well, if there's anything that needs personal pictures, I probably. After a couple divorces, you never know what goes through life.
Oh God, I've heard some horror stories, not only with natural disasters of taking photos, but I've heard ex-wives or other family members just absconding with guys' photo albums and stuff they brought home. It's that always bums me out on the not especially once you get deep enough and learned all of the times they burned all of y'all's documents and all of that to cover up SOG, but also guys losing their personal stuff is just a big blow to history. How much do we need to set up a part 2 for your battery? I know we've been on almost an hour, and I don't know how your battery's doing.
I'm on a flip phone, and I'm not. I wonder if I close it, it'll probably kill the call. So I'm wondering if I could. I guess. Let me see. Your number, and so the last name is Gibson. What was your first name?
Bud, B-U-D, like Bud Light.
You don't drink that, do you?
No, I'm not a Bud Light man. I'm a Crown Royal or a Kentucky Bourbon man.
You know what? Crown Royal. Boy, I tell you, that purple bag and me were good friends for a lot of years.
I got that from my dad, and in college, that was pretty much all I drank. I was a purple bag collector.
Did you mix it with the Crown Royal with RC Cola?
I did either 7-Up or Coca-Cola.
Yeah, no, that's what I like about it's anyway. Give me your number real quick in case I don't get back to you. I mean, I will call you back if I got enough battery here.
Yes, sir. It is 1-334 547
Okay.
1134.
Okay. So if I lose you, I'm going to call you right back. I'm just going to see.
Excellent.
I am low tech. The reason I don't have a computer, well, my wife, she runs her fingers too fast, and even the computer couldn't keep up. And I didn't do banking business and all that. I do miss YouTube. And everybody, oh, download this and upload this. Well, and also, 50 years in construction, you think I'm going to have a nice smartphone in my butt pocket in a crawl space or on a roof 3 stories high and on concrete and all that. So I have a flip phone. I do a little text, but I usually like talking, you can tell.
Yeah, my dad worked construction, and God Almighty, I can't even think of the number of phones he went through in his 10 or 15 years doing that.
Well, I'm going to just hit this one button. If it stays like it is, then we're good. Otherwise, I'll have to call you right back.
Roger that.
Okay. Are we there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, man, I'm starting to learn technology.
Excellent, excellent.
Oh, I got a lot of battery left.
Okay, good.
Oh yeah.
I will I won't hold you much long. Hour or so is good. I was gonna get to a kind of a stopping point question, if you will, or at least where you could expand a little bit, because if you don't mind, I'm definitely gonna want to ask you. I've got a lot of stuff to ask you. That's why I was gonna see if for a part two. But when you first get there and you meet the big wigs, I don't know if Colonel Apt or if Bushy Brows is running everything. Are you immediately taken over to meet Mr. Pat in RT Colorado, or do you strap hang a bit, or what's your next road?
Well, first thing is you go into the Recon Center. They have, like, they call it the TOC, Tactical Operations Center. That's kind of below grade, and that's where all the paperwork and the maps and all the files are. But they had just a little building with the Recon company. There was a desk there, and they said, okay, we'll sign that, and then Nixon went to New York, and then I got assigned Colorado, and Shepard Patton was the 1-0, and they give you an M16, and then I was in a place where there was another guy. I'd never seen his name in books or nothing, but his name, now it escapes me, but he was on RT Colorado, Burke. Name was Burke, B-U-R-K-E, and he was de-roasting out, going back to the States, and I was going to take his place. So I had to go to a kind of a standby hooch with a bunk for a couple of days. And then he left, and then I got assigned actually to the team room, RT Colorado.
Wow.
Shepard Patton was the 1-0, Mitchell was the 1-1, and I became the 1-2.
Oh, okay. There we go. Because unfortunately, I'm hoping Jason updates, because he's only done Colorado in the very, very first. And I was going by what's lacking in the book. I had just assumed that Pat was 1-0 this time, but that's excellent to get straight. And you mentioned at this time, I think 1970, that you're given a M16, no Car 15?
Well, that was interim, I think, until they assigned me to they just had to give us weapons for protection because we were in a combat area.
Ah.
I hadn't got my personal Car 15 until I probably got assigned the team.
Excellent. That would make sense. You can't have a guy walking around with his fist, and God forbid if there's a sapper attack or something like that, it goes home.
Yeah.
So to kind of get a last question in or two for this little part one chat of ours, what did you kind of think of Colorado, and not only the Americans, but did you actually, and that's kind of part two, did you get to meet or spend any time with the Indige?
Well, because I was assigned to Colorado, and of course, and I don't even say it also like you, the vernacular of the FNG. You're the new guy. You have no experience. You're just assigned. And I remember Pat is he says, oh, He'd laugh because it's that tall drink of water from Tennessee, Shepherd Patton, you know. Good old Southern boy. Southern people always, yeah, I'm prejudiced, but man, Southern people, they just seem to go together. So,
we're good people.
Yeah, well, I do. You know, and not because of, you know, I guess I count because I'm from Southern California and they were Confederate state.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know, so I salute the stars and bars. Anyway, but Patton was there, and he said, Jeremy, I don't want to, you know, make fun of him. I said, yeah, and he said, you're gonna love what we have for you. RC-25, and said, I know what it is. And he just tapped me on the shoulder and he said, but don't worry. He said, we got you covered because you're going to be carrying less ammo.
Oh, wow.
But then we went over and they had just kind of, you had your recon club kind of thing. But then the yards were on the other side of the compound where they had their hoosh. But then they had just kind of looked like a big mess hall. And that's where they all just gathered together and talked all their different yard language. And I went over there and met Wing, the interpreter, and because I'm French Canadian and I could speak French, I figured, well, yeah, these are, you know, French Polynesia, maybe, and we were both, you know, pretty much wasted anyway from that Schlitz beer, terrible stuff. And met him, and I wanted to, you know, yeah, whatever, but I didn't know anybody else on the other teams, and I might have heard, oh, Nixon's going to New York, that's where he's from, and somebody or that. But you just kind of go your own way now, and you might see each other, but you're on a team. So I go out to this, and it's the urinal, and what it is a clay tile in the ground, not clay really, it's made out of lightweight concrete, but it's got a big rounded hub on it, and it has corrugated, you know, about 3 feet high, kind of in the shape of a circle.
The curved 10, kind of.
Yeah, and it's just, all it is, it's supposed to hide your rear end and your weenie. And it has a way in and a way out. And I'm walking in, and a guy just hosed me with his weenie. all over me. And it was prehistoric man, Muscleman from Team California.
Oh, Galen, motor pool.
Yeah, we call it a motor pool. He's also called prehistoric man. This short, squatty, and yeah, motor pool. Anyway, so I met that other American from another team.
That's great.
Yeah, we got to meet the yards. Anyway, and then in that, you know, you're wanting, no, you're not going to beat John Wayne. And even then, with the training and stuff like that, we would get people there that like, don't go with that guy. He's trouble. You know, he's going to do something stupid. And you can't deny them, you know, because it's volunteer. But, you know, but you do want to get going. You want to get, you know, you're not trying to get a CIB. You're just trying to be effective because it's pretty boring, you know. So,
wow. Gosh, actually, I mean, if you don't mind, I actually kind of do want to ask you a few more questions, if you don't mind.
No, I'm here looking at the sun.
Excellent. Okay, you just let me know. All right, I'm sure to a point we'll get to where we'll stop, because I will do a part 2 chat with you. But if I get to asking too much, you just let me know, and we'll shut her down for the day. So you end up meeting the guys, and you're officially on Colorado and everything. Are there any, shall we say, I don't know if y'all call them like CCS does, but local patrols for training, or are you immediately getting your gear, given the 1-1, 1-2, 1-3 spot, and on an operation?
Well, they would assign teams that are not on stand down or not active mission prep. And we would have to go out and do perimeter patrols, not just a full circle, but just go out there in the banana fields or whatever and kind of keep an eye on things, see if there's any kind of sappers coming in. Because the road went right down the middle of our compound. You got us on one side and all the mess hall and the other stuff on the other side. It would close the gate every night between Kontum and Play 2. And so we'd have to kind of meander around. So you'd be assigned to go out and do that. I might have done that a couple times, but when I got there, that was June, and that's the wet season. So it's kind of short order of teams going in and out on missions. And might have done one or two of those and then wait for mission prep. And there isn't, it's not a prideful, I'm going to get my Purple Heart or CIB before you do. But you just want to, you know, you're there to do, not to sit. And, but then, you know, especially with us 8 guys, whatever, that just got there, nobody's one, you know, excited about getting out and get shot at right away. But it's kind of, whoever goes first, you know, they come back, tell a story, you know, and all that. It's the unknown competitive thing. And Ralph Rod was Mitchell's best buddy. And he was actually supposed to live in Washington, of all things. I had never seen him again. But Ralph Rod was team leader on another team. And, you know, Nixon's getting ready, Baker's getting ready, Jocko's getting ready, St. Laurent's getting ready. We're all getting ready to go do something. And Ralph Rod was sitting there, and I was there with him and Mitchell. Said, "One thing about you, St. Laurent, is you don't shout your you know what. You know, what you're going to do and how Charlie's going to be scared of you and all this kind of stuff." And there were a few people that had that attitude, like, man, turn me loose on those goose boys. And like, they don't know what they're talking about. So as it did turn out, I was the first one to get the CIB, my little group of guys.
Oh,
and
wow.
It wasn't a full-blown prairie fire firefight. It was a khaki, got shot at from behind. But, you know, I was in combat, and so I get a CIB. And, you know, it's not worth it. If that's what you want, you don't really want it that bad. Just because of the fear factor that, you know, you're in life-threatening situations for a blue rectangle, you know, and so it's a nice achievement and an award and all that, but it's nothing you want to pursue. But, and maybe you would ask me in your questions, but you're still wanting to be part of what's going on because we're assigned there, we volunteer there, we're training now together with our team and that, and you're just wanting to do your duty, you know, and feel a sense of belonging because, you know, these other guys are a while, you know, they got 8, 10 missions, you know, some are second, like Plaster, second, third tours, you know, and you're the new guy and you just want to fit. And what really gave me that feeling of belonging was when we were on the first mission. Maybe I'm getting way ahead of your questions, but
no, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Our first mission was off of Leghorn because he couldn't get us in. He couldn't land us into over the fence. The weather was always too bad. So we came off of Leghorn, walked out of Leghorn. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
Radio relay site in Laos. And I remember sitting there in Leghorn. This is my first mission with Patton and Mitchell, and I think we had an Easterly, no, it wasn't Easterly. Some other guy was strap hanging with it. I think he just wanted to get a CIB or something. He was 87. We're sitting there at Leghorn Mountain in Laos. With obviously no Americans were there, according to politics. And then I hear this rumbling in the distance, and I see these flashing red lights. And I'm like, hey, you know, who's that over there? I said, those are Russian helicopters resupplying the NBA. And by then, well, where's Puck the Magic Dragon and where's Spooky? I mean, you know, we got C-130. You can't because the international no bomb line. And like, and then at 19, 20 years old, you're starting to smell the sewer of politics, you know. And we knew it was political anyway, but like, what do you mean? You know where they are, you know what they're doing, and you don't do anything about it? And of course, that's what's called a no-win war, starting with Korea. And so anyway, we went down Leghorn Mountain. Their mountain yards, they had their new, where all the little toe poppers were, but it was like the Matterhorn. It was like, this groups aren't going to have to climb up here. And we got down there, and down, I think it was supposed to be just an area recon, and first time I saw a Laotian elephant, I thought, man, I'd love to have a law and put it and see what it does to an elephant. We're down by this river after a couple of days, and I'm on the radio and getting my bearings. I got the call sign change every day. I get to make contact with Cubby, give him updates, whatever. And then it was raining, and I was under a poncho, and I never seen Mitchell move so fast with a knife. The line that was holding the poncho was our little shelter, and you pow, 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 pow. And they were more like signal shots instead of direct hit. And so Patton, having experiences, and we're learning that they use a shot over here, a shot over there, and they force you into a funnel or into a place where they can ambush you. It's called signal shots. And they signal, they're over here. No, they're over here. And the enemy just kind of follows those signal shots. And so we meandered, and then we climbed all the way back up that. And in the middle of the second or third night, we knew we'd broken off of that. So we have a tactical emergency. Now they know we're there, and they're after us. And it's dead quiet in the middle of this jungle, and it's nighttime, and you hear this roar. And I looked at one of the mountain yard, and he said, and they say, Lyn St tiger.
Oh.
They bite you, you die. And the tiger.
Oh my God.
The jungle's like the zoo. I got to see this hairy Laotian elephant, and now I'm in the tigers, and you got the monkeys, this is like the zoo.
Holy
so anyway,
God.
After I think 4 days, we got back up there, and it was a tacky, so we got back, and of course I'm giving you, my experience of it, and we come into the helipad at Kontum, the weather's good, and there's probably 40 guys out there from Recon, 30, 40 guys. And this slicks them down, and this guy grabs my rucksack and my car 15 and sticks a deer in my hand and put his arm around me and said, great job. And then I knew I belonged. It wasn't the beer, it's just now you feel like now we're one. I mean, you are anyway, it's status, but
you're a made guy, so to speak.
Yeah, well, it's like, this is what we do, and it was my first time out there to the enemy or make contact or try to, and it's this is an acceptance. There's no heroics in it. Just you're accepted, and you're accepted anyway. You're on the team, but you're just missing. Maybe an element of it is missing inside yourself. That I want to feel part of what's going on here. I want to be part of the guys. We're on Recon. Like there's Recon and Lyn over here. Just however, and it just sealed that acceptance for me. And of course, the word got out like that guy likes the radio. So South Carolina would come out and say, "You want to strap hang with us?" Like, hey, it beats, whatever. And I didn't do it all the time. I might have only done it 2 or 3 times. But yeah, I'll take it because that's what I do.
Why? I mean, two things. One, I got a lot of photos, and some of those returning RTs and the Hueys returning, and everybody that's either available or not quarantined, so to speak, out there waiting on guys to get home and celebrate are some of the best photos in SOG. And for you to be able to get there and show your worth like that on the first mission, and then for other teams to ask you to strap hang, that's also another huge vote of confidence that people that may not know a lot about SOG or anything like that, because you're not going to take a strap hanger with you unless he can cut the mustard, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's where some were obvious to avoid them, and it's not a personal slight.
No.
It can be based on your experience, or it can be on,
snoring in the bush. I mean, we've heard it. What Mr. Mike Wilson of RT Arizona told us. Sadly, they had to cut a really, really good ranger that came in and was great field tactics and all that. But when it came to night, he snored so loud the yards were thinking of smothering him in his sleep. You know, not to be mean, but
No, it's just that's and you know, whether it's the history of it or living it, it's like in Mixter's case, you know, he saved my life, and I know you know the whole story. I can say it for days, not days, but like.
would you actually go into a little bit of that? And after we do that, I know that's going to be a lot. We'll wrap up part one, so to speak. But could you kind of tell us how far along, or tell me how far along that mission was into? Was that one of your first? I mean, what was that whole situation like?
David Mixter?
Yes, sir. That operation. I've heard the audio, read about it, but never spoke to.
That was my last one because I got wounded on that. So
Oh,
that was my end of tour there. It was number 8 or 9, I don't know.
wow.
It was January 29th, 1971. So I know the date. I actually applied. Well, you know, you obviously know in the book or whatever the mission, and it's been in Plaster's book. This sidebar there, I knew I was at a library somewhere. I knew that somebody said, "Oh yeah, you know, SOG is all declassified now." And John Plaster wrote a book. They're called SOG, and it was a red paperback at the library, and they had me in there as Sergeant John St. Laurent. And I said, "Oh, that's good. That way the enemy will never find me." So then I heard about that, and then that's when he got that tape. It's now on YouTube, and that from the FBI guy, and it's in the forward of his book, Secret Commandos Behind Enemy Lines, and that's my last mission. My voice on there, and Mitchell and Dave Mixter all involved, and all of that, and that inspired him to write that book, Secret Commandos Behind Enemy Lines. And so I was like, man, you know, it's something that's just part of your life if you're 21 years old and now on this book, and people like you and Sam and Paul are on podcasts and all this, and like, you know, I'm just over there doing what I do.
You guys are so humble.
You know what? On a personal thing, but it just we don't strut around with like peacocks, but and to me, it's a personal reward. And I didn't go through any of that, have to hide in the airports and all this kind of stuff because of the mobs and the anti-war protesters. My dad was my number one support guy, and unfortunately I was medevac and all of that. So to have this come around, you know, 50-some years later, and like, man, people, and even like, you know, your age, why are you even interested in this old goat stuff? And like, well, it is history. And people are just really like, and you know, some people are like, hey, you got balls and brass. Like, no, my balls are like everybody else's balls. It's just, I raised my hand and volunteered to do what I was told to do. And if somebody views that as heroic or whatever, yeah, there's risk, but a pilot takes risk. You know, we all have risk. It might be different levels of it. And
you're a humble man.
Got off on that, but David Mixter got on the team late because Patton had already gone home. So I don't know what you wanted me to know, relay to you about, but it was actually my last mission, David Mixter, which was the only mission I went with. I went with the SOG. So.
Wow, so that was not only your last mission, but your first mission with Lurch.
Yeah, first one with.
Wow.
So what is it that you just?
I was I mean, kind of curious, you know, I know Hawaii was in the field, you were in the field. God, I'm blanking on the other team that was in the field. Were there 3 teams or 2 teams? 2, you in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Okay. What was it to where y'all had gotten word that stuff was going on and y'all had gone to ground first and then got into a gun battle, or did y'all's originally pick up before Hawaii's picked up? I'm actually blanking on how events precipitated.
It would take a lot of pages in a book, but the order of the day, I guess, would be Team Hawaii was already out there. We were at Docto, and we were supposed to begin search, I don't know, 11 noonish, somewhere in there. So then we went out. And then signs of people everywhere. Just everywhere you go. Yeah, have fresh battered blueprints, fresh dug kits for machine guns to put in and knock choppers out of the sky. You know, fresh this. So about 1 day, and then it's just kind of, it makes your heart skip when you jump off a slick and you run to head toward the tree line because you want to get off the LZ, and you look up and it says front toward enemy, and it's an American-made Claymore mine.
Oh.
And but fortunately, Papa's not on the other end with the 18-volt cruncher to blow you and the chopper away. And so, yeah, well, they got captured stuff. And so you make these mental notes, but then we get off. And I give you the long version. The short version is we all get off. There's 3 Americans, 5 yards. It wasn't 10, it was 8 altogether. I know them all by name. And 8 people altogether. And Mixster is 6'5", 6'6", tall, not real skinny, but probably 190, 200 pounds. And Mitchell brought him on, and even Plaster notes that Mixster was overlooked. And even though he's special forces trained, and before he got on our team, he went to sniper school.
Oh.
And he had a black fatigue with a red scarf. And like, this guy is so tall, he could be the tree that the snipers hide in. And so the recon guy's like, man, you know, you're just tall. And it wasn't so much his height, is that we go, you call it to the range, but it was just a place where we jump in a deuce and a half and go outside Kontum and blast a bunch of rounds and do a bunch of tactics. And so I'd be there, and then Mitchell would tell, all right, Lord, you fall down to 4 mountain yards. They even pick him up and drag him.
Wow.
And like, you look at it from a tactical perspective, like if he goes down, 40% of your firepower, 50% is gone. And that's why the warning, whether it's spoken or not, is like, if you go down and you can't come under your own power in part, you're probably going to be left, because it's going to kill the whole team. But that's the way. People go, oh, it's so cool. I'm like, do you want to lose 1 or do you want to lose 10?
Exactly.
It's attrition, you know, that's what war is, you know. And so I go to 1-0, said, that guy is so big, you know, but he had a good heart, you know, he did what he did, and he can't help be who he is. And so he got on our team because Patton left, and then it was just Mitchell and myself, and so we had to have a 3rd American, and Mixster got on. And so we trained together and all of that, and so we got this target. Anyway, he was tall. So we go out to this mission. Team Hawaii's out there. We're out there. There's people everywhere. We know it. They know it. Within the hottest areas of all the SOG. The hottest target ever in all TC program was Hotel 6, right dead center in our target area.
Oh.
Even CCN dudes like, I ain't never going near Hotel 6. I'm like, yeah, it's the hottest of all of them. So we got Juliet 3, India 3, and all overlapping, and so we're all into the hot ones now. And by that time, the enemy said, just go that way. You see choppers, head toward that. And the Americans are coming, you know, or some teams are coming. And so now they're on ambush missions all the time. So anyway, we're there. We have a little bit of a break, like a lunch break, about 1 p.m. And I hear the radio kind of hissing, you know. So I'm not hearing open mic, but something's going on. So tactically, when something's going on, get off your trail, hunker down, and wait till you hear from Covey, or if you can reach Covey, find out what's going on. Because the possibility is the assets are getting tied up. You don't want to be, exactly what happened. You don't want to be in your emergency and you can't get help. It's a tactical thing. And so I could hear that, and then we don't give verbal commands. We just snap our fingers. I snap my fingers, and I tell Mitchell, you know, go off to the right. We're heading down this trail, go off to the right. And it went down this hill, and you're crunching these bamboo shoots and all this stuff. Trying to be quiet, and lay down in a flat area, and if you kept going down, it goes into high kind of elephant grass. And so we just stayed there. And so Mitchell went, what's going on? I said, I don't know, something's going on. So we put the claymores out. Had 4 claymores out, this defensive mode, kind of a crescent shape. And so you have the point man, the interpreter, then Mitchell, then the F-79 guy, then me, then my buddy, Yaru, covered my butt, and then Mixster and Watt. Kind of in a semicircle, like a crescent. So we're not bunched together. Don't ever bunch together. One round will blow you all out. And so we're spread out a little bit, and we're waiting, and you hear them coming. They're like,
Jesus Christ.
Here they come. And so I'm there, I'm whispering, Delta Papa 3, Delta Papa 3, Delta Papa, Delta Papa. I'm trying to let them know, hey, do something about that. And that's where the world famous prairie fire. You know, some people say, now, I know that's me. Even my niece had heard that a few years back. Said, Uncle Lyn, that's you. That's me. Yeah, you know.
Wow.
So I'm calling it prairie fire because they are right on top of us. But saving grace, thank the Lord for that, really, that they had forgotten about this flat spot. And so they were coming down the hill at a pretty good clip. You know, not yelling and all that, but they're getting ready. As soon as they see something, they're opening it all. And they came right on top of us. We're on a flat spot. And we blew the claymores. And then the Reconnaissance, and all this stuff going on. And I'm left-handed, so the handset's in my left hand. My weapon slung over my left shoulder, and I'm pointing the other way. So I can't even return fire. I'm up against this little burrow type thing trying to call Cubby. And that's where you hear my crying out for Cubby, prairie fire, and it's cut off. Well, prior to that, being cut off and hit, David Mixster, nobody, not nobody, they're very reluctant because of his size. David Mixster, and I relive it, just sharing it with you, it's like, that man, I was able to turn my head, and coming at me, at a pretty good run, is an NDA soldier, full gear, lowered AK-47. And he sees me, and I see him. And I'm facing the wrong way. And I just closed my eyes, and David Mixster leaned on me, pushed him down, and popped him dead in his track.
Oh my God.
And it's like, I saw, and you can do it digital now, I guess, but a man coming at you, not dead run, but pretty quick, with 3 car 15 rounds, make that guy blow backwards. And that's the power of that weapon. Now they got all these things that pop blood, and the guy has 43 hits and he's still running at you, and David Mixster was he's right next to me because he moved over to save me. And I got up, and that's when whoever saw, whatever said, nobody said boo to me. The mountain yard stood up and beat away. Because you don't want to stand and fight these guys anyway. But I never let's get out of here. And I've been hit. I hadn't been hit yet, so I'm kind of looking around and like, what is this? And then all this is going on, and I hear brush breaking noise going up the hill. And in my mind, it's like, that's the RPG. That's the B-40 rocket. It has to get distance to arm itself because it's actually designed for armor. But if you hit a stump or you hit something hard, that thing will fragment and blow you to pieces. And I just like in my mind, it's like, that's the B-40 guy. And I grabbed a hold of David Mixter's stable rig, his harness. The yards are now starting to beat feet, and I was going to say, let's get out of here, And boom, pow, all at one time. And the boom was behind me, and the pow was right in my ear, and my arm flew off sideways over the top of my weapon, and the handset flew out of my hand. And it was springing like a telephone cord, and I'm trying to gather it in, because I'm trying to talk to Cubby. And I look up, and my forearm is laying across the top of my R-15, just all bloody. And I thought, what if I stand up? This thing will just roll off. And I'm trying to get the handset, and that's when I looked and saw Mitchell's head just in the tree line. And I yelled, Mitchell, I'm hit. And he looked at me and like, why aren't you guys with us? And he came back. And he saved my life. threw me down this hill end over end, and I just got the hands in. I was mad, and all of that, and the rest became a waiting game. 4 hours, and waiting just kind of for the end to come, and like, boy, we out here with 8 people, now we're down to 2, and so I sat there, and he sat there, and I'm like, don't let him get me, I won't let him get you, because they don't like us. We waited and waited, and I, didn't pray to Mary. I didn't ask my brother to put a good word in for me. I just thought about my parents. Like, man, I already lost a son in 1969, and now they got another son out here who's not even supposed to be, in 1971. And you think, man, they're really going to go through it. They lose 2 sons in Vietnam. Well, one in Laos, but how they panned out, I'm talking Bud Gibson 52 years later.
Thank the good Lord.
It is. It really is. It's the grace of God. And like even if we are not praying or we're not in the place we should be and can be, the Lord takes into account. Like, He cares about those parents. He cares about those wives who are praying for their husbands. They're covered. And but anyway, that's David Mixter's one and only mission out, and yet he gave all. He saved me, and I had a stable rig in my hand, and when that B-40 hit, I didn't let go of that. It just slung, and I just knew he got it. And of course, if you read the accounts and all that, he just kind of. There really isn't much of a torso. I didn't see him personally, but he cut in half. Leaning the top half, leaning on the lower half. Mitchell saw it. Mitchell can't do anything for him. And that's what Mitchell said. I got it, but you can't do anything for him. And so it's like, I guess if you look at the bigger picture, that what people, and it was a natural reason why they were reluctant to put him on their team, just because it would take so much effort to try to save him or help him. He ended up being the one that saved me, giving his life, for me. And he didn't need any help to get out. So, but it's nice, and I haven't followed everything like you have, but my brother's name is on the wall, the Vietnam Memorial wall, and some time ago I typed in David Mixster, and it said, killed in Laos. And I'm like, they got it right. But back then, people were getting empty caskets. Oh, your son, it was killed in Kontum province. No, he wasn't. Smitty wasn't. Pat Albert wasn't. Maybe Huey was not, he was. But Mixster, no, they were not in Kontum province. There's nobody in that casket, because of the cover-up, But anyway, it's just, it's sobering, it's not like, oh, yeah, I'm a big tall guy and I got to prove myself. He just did what we all would probably do.
I don't know about that. You guys are special guys, and
you have a group of people or somebody, even if it's Roll Tide football fans, or whatever,
I would like to think I would, and I know I would for family, and I'd like to think I'd do it for everyone. But I mean, in situations like that, I've come to learn that you guys are special. Y'all may not admit it or like people saying it, but you guys are special gentlemen. That's.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think I could say it in fewer words, is that maybe it's there, and I'm not making light of it, of course. It's just, part of it is you don't know, and we can always have presumptions and assumptions, and like, if I was in this situation, this is what I would do. And you can train, and you can practice, and you can do live fire ranges, and you can have real smoke bombs, you can have it all. But there's something that when you really experience it, and and you don't even, it's not even thinking, that you are reacting, body, soul, and spirit, to the threat of you losing your life. And then you see outwardly, I guess, manifest in the natural, what you do to save your life and others' lives. And you don't know unless you're there. I guess part of the point that you're making, and I agree with, is that you're the new guy, and you're this, and you're that, and everything else, but everybody in SOG paid the same price. We trained for the same time. You know, nobody got corners cracked. You know, nobody got free pass. You know, jungle missions are jungle missions. You know, and so that made obviously contribute to the camaraderie and that, because we all know experientially in real life terms what the risk is, and so you have a comrade there or somebody that the risk is they will die today, and you want to prevent that, you know, and so you do things like Bob Howard. I mean, how many times you got to cross the river and come back and get those guys, you know? And it's something that's in us. Innate human beings. We really have an inner something that the Lord puts there to save and protect and to help, and you know, to have all the politics and learning and all this other stuff, try to undo all that. But when it comes down to it, human beings really want to protect themselves and protect others. And but David Mixster was very quiet. You know, he knew he was tall. Nobody really rejected him. He knew he was a risk. You know, and but anyway,
wow.
He was on the team.
And I mean, you guys, I mean, you get banged up, and we'll end because I'm not going to hold you till 2 hours. We can do a part two talking. But I mean, you're banged up, and I mean, it's not like, sadly, Mr. Dave gets hit and is KIA, and you know, there's a big argument, or there's word that said that to the Covey and Plaster that he's not leaving him. And Plaster basically has to say, you got to get, you know, you got to get Lyn and the yards out. Dave would want it. You got to get out. And I've heard that from other SOG vets saying that you got to get out. And if it means leaving me, you got to leave me. And I mean,
they had to do that with Fat Albert. You know, Pete Wilson was his real name, but Fat Albert, and I can't remember what the team, but that's what really upset Plaster. But that was part of it. It's part of the learning curve, I guess. You can never prepare for every situation. You can have in 89 scenarios, there's going to be number 90 that nobody has had to do yet or experienced yet, and they've had to do that with Fat Albert on. He was on one of the yards, got hit. He stayed with the yard.
RT Arkansas, it was a brand new yard that he knew from a prior team, and yeah, he did not leave him.
Yeah, and according to Plaster's account, because he's flying Cubby, then it's like, well, you hear all this firing and shooting, or you hear all that. Maybe Fat Albert was duking it out with the enemy, trying to save the yard, or maybe, I don't know. But and one thing in that regard too, and I still doubt it, and I have no way of proving it or disproving it, is anyway, the point was, when I'm in the hospital or whatever at Play Crew, oh yeah, we sent the bright light team to get Mixter's body out, and what we found was his hat, a bunch of bloody bamboo shoots. I'm like, okay, I will not buy that at all. And maybe you actually did. Why would you go after Mixter's body in one of the hottest areas where you almost lose a team? Why didn't you go after Fat Albert's body or Smitty's body that Romano lost and had to leave? Why now? And I think they just said that to blow smoke at me. I don't know, because like, well, we made an effort to try to recover, you know, and like Mitchell never said anything about it. You know, he didn't say, oh yeah, we sent out Baker was on that team. You know, oh yeah, we sent out the bright light team. And like, why? It makes no tactical sense that you've had two teams shot out, not super close to each other, but it's the dry season. It's crank up time for the enemy. You know, why would you almost lose a team and then risk another team just to get a corpse out of there. We've never done that. Bright light team, the whole time I was there, and I wasn't there that long, never had bright light teams that got told, but they never had to go out. And we'd have teams that would be one team, and we were all there with our stable rigs and our car 15 sitting on the helipad just waiting for the word to go, and they didn't go. You know, and so I didn't believe that at all, that they sent a bright light team to get David Mixter's body out. Because you're going to send in 8 or 10 guys in the hottest area that you just shot out yesterday to get a body. I'm not buying it. So, anyway.
Yeah.
It's true, it's on the wall where he was killed and what day and all that. But that was, again, it's the risk factor. You know, and like I said, there is that camaraderie because we've done it, and we've all run the same risk and have to pay the same price. There's just no giveaway, you know. And so when you're out there, you don't think of it always consciously, but we're out there risking. You don't think, oh, this is life-threatening or whatever. You're just doing what we're asked to do. We're gathering intel. We're trying to just get back. It's all here. Even these World War II guys that have, like Memorial Day is coming, they're going to have loads of D-Day and all that stuff, and even Vietnam or CMH winners and all of that, almost to the person. They say, all I want to do is get home and get my buddy home. And not because you're scared, you know, that we're just doing this. This is temporal. We just want to get home and get on with life. And I never did get to talk to David Mixter's parents in person. You know, Pastor, well, you know, you were there and all that. And even he's asked me, and Sam has asked me, and Paul and others. And I go, what exactly? And I said, I'm right next to the guy. I can tell you what happened. You know. So anyway.
Wow. Yes, sir. Well, I was gonna go ahead and see. You know, I've got some interviews lined up this week. They're gonna be live on my YouTube channel, and gosh, I wish you had a computer and I could send some, and you might be able to watch some guys that you ran with and reminisce. But I was going to see if maybe either later in the week, if you were going to be around, if maybe we could reconnect and hook back up.
Well, like I said, the only appointment, so to speak, is I have a realtor coming here to the property at 10 on Thursday. That's West Coast time. Tomorrow's fine. Friday's fine. I'm going back Saturday, so I'll be loading up to go back home.
Okie dokie.
Reno from here and then fly back to Seattle. So Thursday later morning or whatever.
Okay, I think either Thursday or Friday will work out good.
Okay. Yeah, and hope I'm not wearing you out.
No, God, no. This is exactly what I've lived to listen to right here. I mean, not at all, sir.
So just beginning that, Bud, how did you get involved in this?
I originally got involved after as I mentioned, my father was a Mike Force veteran, and a Mike Force veteran. I've got that on my mind. Was a Marine Corps veteran up in I Corps in '68 and '69 with Mike 3-5, and he passed away from pancreatic cancer that was more likely Agent Orange induced. And after that, I was originally going to see if I could find men that had crossed paths or even served with him, and that was all but futile. And just started reaching out to some vets online, a few that I'd seen their names in books, and came across a few Covey pilots, Mr. Don Fulton, who helped out and saved RT New York with Howard Davis, and Woody, weirdly enough, who was one of the Panthers. Yeah, he was actually the Panther that flew the mission supporting y'all. And
The one that just passed away?
Yes, sir, Mr. Woody Woodard.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good man, and he was actually one of the first men that sat down and did a live interview with me. I hated that, and we'll miss him. And once I spoke to those two, it kind of just opened up, and I started speaking to guys more and more. started interviewing guys that would be open to do live interviews, and ended up at SOAR and visited them. And I've been invited back this year and invited to a Sante Raider reunion in November and the 5th group reunion at Fort Campbell this year. So hopefully I can, if nothing comes up, I can stay pretty busy this fall.
You mentioned all that stuff because the Sante prison raid took place when I was in country.
Oh wow,
and
that's
the guys that I trained with at Fort Bragg that didn't go overseas. Some of them, my buddies I trained with at Fort Bragg, were on the Sante raid.
wow.
So,
that
because we're there listening to it, or somebody said, "Yeah, you know, they got us there. You know what's that stuff, guys?" Or, "Hey, yeah, you know, either the 6th or the 7th, or a combination of the two."
Yeah.
So well, guys.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I was actually supposed to interview Doug Franklin Miller, the Medal of Honor man from CCC. His brother Walt, that was Project Sigma, who was on the Sante raid, and so we're having some difficulty connecting. But I can't imagine what that must have been like being in country with that going on and everything. That just the excitement that they actually attempted to do that.
1970. Yeah, because I was in country and they're talking about it, like, yeah, you know, we're like, and they didn't even tell you on the news who it was. They're like, we know who's doing it.
And quite a few former SOG men on the roster.
There's no 6th Army from Fort Lewis doing it, I can tell you that. So yeah, it's just amazing. Like I said, meeting, having Bob Howard there, and then Martha Ray. And then just as a personal thing is that when I did get wounded, and it's like, okay, so I go to play good. Mitchell comes and visits me, and you know, just rehab and that. I'd rather get shot again almost. But anyway, so I ended up going to Cameron Bay for a little bit, then Camp Zama, Japan. Well, that's where they got guys wounded there, getting ready to go home to the States. And I'm in Camp Zama, Japan, and there's guys there with self-inflicted wounds, you know, guy with a cyst on his butt, so he's going to get Purple Heart for that. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I'm there, oh, I'm going to have some special guests today. And I'm sitting there, or laying there in my bed, and here comes Tom Maddie, running back for the Miami Dolphins. I used to watch him on Sunday. And then there was this guy, Bob Lilly, big guy from Dallas Cowboys. He used to advertise the workmate workbench. And then they had Jack Dempsey, this club-footed kicker for the New Orleans Saints, who kicked the record field goal. And these are pro football players that my dad and I would watch on Sunday.
Wow,
like, what a small world, you know. I'm meeting these pro guys. I got Martha Ray coming. I got Dolly Howard here. In that little time span of a few months, you know, of that time, all these famous people.
Jeez Louise. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to linking back up with you Thursday or Friday. And again, thank you for taking time to speak to me today. I can't tell you what it meant.
Well, I'm appreciative, and even though I'm saying a lot, I'm humbled by it because, you know, and then they just had a train convention here where my interest is in the area and that, and there was a Vietnam vet guy there, and he just, you know, that hollow look and didn't want to, you know, and his wife, you know, and I don't draw people out, but it's just like, she just said, yeah, I said, well, as a nation, it was a bad time for our country, you know, for all this stuff, a bunch of baby killers. Everybody's at the airport ready to riot, you know, if you come out in a uniform and all of that. And they're just sad, you know, and it's people still live with it. And she said, well, I said, well, I've had young people in their 20s and 30s, and they're reading all this in the history books and all of that. And I said, the ones writing those books have never been there. Or they stereotype a bad group of people, or they made them look so bad that everybody's that way. And I said, but I was with real men in real conditions and stuff, and we all learned to get along. There was no racial problems and all of this stuff. And I said, it's just sad, you know. And I said, well, I've had kids that are in college at University of Washington taking psychology, and they can't figure it out. I said,
yes, sir.
Take a person against their will. shave their head in 17 seconds, put them in a green uniform, teach them to march, teach them to shoot, send them over to a war zone and tell them you're forbidden to protect yourself because of the rules of occasion, because it's politically not pleasant. And if you see the enemy, you can't initiate, or you gotta wait until you're taking fire. And I said, and then what they do, they go out in the woods and get stoned. They don't want to deal with when they get it.
Yes, sir.
And, and then you demand them to be upright citizens.
Yeah.
Right? And they go back. So anyway, I think that show turned out okay.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, you did. I'm gonna be looking forward to us linking back up in the Thursday or Friday. So I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll be in touch later on in the week.
You are a terrific guy. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you much, sir. You have a great day.
All right.
Bye-bye. All righty, guys. Of y'all that stuck around, I don't know what convinced me to do that, but I went ahead and did it anyways, considering I remembered they said he does not have a computer and doesn't ever do it. We had been on the phone about 10 minutes or so beforehand, maybe 5 to 8 minutes. It wasn't 10 exactly. And I was like, you know what? It actually took long because I did it live through YouTube instead of StreamYard. And was like, you know what? I might try and live stream this because no one's ever heard him, and the only part he's mentioned in, and I've never seen photos of it. And y'all know I love photos and have every Jason Hardy book made, and I've got albums that y'all see that I put up. I've never seen a photo of him and only mentioned in that book right there. So I was like, what the hell? We're going to try and record this. And worked out great. If y'all did miss it, just go back and check it back out because, man, that was crazy to not only get to hear his entry into the military, getting to CCC, and then I'm glad I didn't end early and just went ahead and busted through and got to the Mixster mission and didn't end because I do have jiu-jitsu in a bit and was going to start getting ready, but that was great to do. I'll get into some of my nerdy questions later on, so I'm glad we stuck on and got that vital piece while we had him because whoever said it, I'm not sure who said it, MC. I don't think anybody except for Plaster has that content, and they don't have his content. They just mention his name in the book. So we're gonna need to share this and get this out there because that as far as I know, that's the only time that story's ever been told in that much detail like that. And you notice they didn't ever put it how bad it was in Plaster's book, but he was essentially in half from the RPG. So that was tough to hear, but man, I've got a lot of these recordings I'm going to start uploading to my Patreon, and if y'all can help me out and tell me if I can upload like audio recorded interviews onto YouTube somehow. I've got another 100 or so phone interviews with guys that did not want to do it live interviews that recorded with me, and we can put those up that y'all have never heard. I mean, Mike Shepard, Billy Wall. I mean, a lot of people. Lyn Black, Tim Schaff, Baby Son Davidson, or not Davidson, Baby Son Sinyard from CCN. So yeah, I've got a lot of those. If y'all think we can do whatchamacallit, put the audio onto YouTube. I'm so dumb, I don't know how to do that. But Thursday, I just created the event. Thursday we're doing the part 3 with Gary, and it's going to be all Q&A. So those of you all that have been wanting to ask questions up until his Marine Special Forces Delta Force career, we're doing all Q&A for that, and then the final episode will be his CIA career and what he's doing now. So thank y'all for watching. I was surprised how well this turned out. This seemed pretty awesome. Yeah, man, I've got Lyn Black for about an hour or so, Frank. I just got to figure out if I can put audio up on YouTube or not. So If y'all can private message me, or what have you. But I'm gonna close it out. I've got to start getting ready. I actually have another interview with someone who ran with Nick Brockhausen. I spoke to him yesterday, Ronnie Davidson from RT Louisiana, who went on to Dead A with Nick Brockhausen. But I think I'm just gonna put that off until my dentist appointment tomorrow, or either Thursday after the show. So we've got big stuff cooking. I've actually got in touch with a Fank vet that served with a lot of SOG vets training the Cambodians. We might can get a purely Fank episode. So that's going to be awesome. So I'm hate some of you guys just now got in here. Rewatch it. I thought it was probably one of the better ones we did, except we didn't have anybody to look at. I did put some pictures in there that were never seen before, that at least put names to faces. So I think everything went pretty good. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I enjoyed the hell out of it. That was about an hour, hour 43 or so of content. So yeah, you guys be good, be ready for Thursday, and I will see y'all later. So have a good day.